Somewhere along the way, we were taught that progress is supposed to be invisible, that you're meant to struggle quietly, grow privately, and only show up once you're a finished product, so to speak. Once you're confident enough and you have it all figured out, laid out before you as clear as day. But as you all probably know by now, most of the time life just doesn't work that way. And neither does art. So join me once again on a quest to become a better artist while we talk about the importance of being a never-ending work in progress. I see it every time I open an old sketchbook. Pages and pages full of awkward lines, half-formed ideas, and drawings that didn't quite land the way I'd hoped they would. Old sketchbooks sometimes make me cringe so hard it's unbearable. And for a long time, I felt what most of us often do. So embarrassed by those pages. Like God forbid someone was to see them. Like they were evidence of a terrible crime called failure. Instead of thinking about them as proof that I was trying, learning, and growing. Now they feel like something else entirely. They feel like footsteps. My private little map. Being a work in progress means letting yourself be seen in motion, not just at the desired destination. And somehow, today, that's hard, because we live in a world that rewards polish, certainty, and confidence, even when it's fake. While at the same time, real growth is messy, sometimes ugly, and non-linear. Some days you feel like you've learned everything there is to learn, and the next day you feel like you've forgotten to hold a pencil. Or at least I do. And that doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. It just means you're a work in progress, as we all should be, from our first to our last day. In art, I often see everyone talk about finding your style, finding your voice, finding your path. A lot of answers to be found, but those things aren't hiding somewhere waiting to be discovered like a hidden treasure chest. They're built slowly, through repetition, mistakes, and moments of doubt. And they're unique to each and every one of us. So there's no universal map to follow. Every unfinished piece teaches you something. Every bad drawing sharpens your eye, and every abandoned idea still leaves a trace. Nothing is wasted when you're striving for a greater goal than the current place you're at. And life is no different. We put so much pressure on ourselves to arrive, to become the version of ourselves we imagine we're supposed to be. The confident one, the successful one, the healed one, and the one that takes no days off and does life perfectly. But what if there is no final version? What if there's no perfection to be found? What if life isn't a straight line towards becoming done, but a series of drafts? Some rough, some beautiful, some ugly, but all necessary. I think a lot of our anxiety comes from trying to freeze ourselves in time, trying to be consistent in a way that doesn't allow for any real change to happen, trying to make decisions that our future selves will never question. But growth requires flexibility. It requires room to revise and the permission to change your mind 1,000 times if necessary. And then one more time once you think you've arrived. When you accept that you're a work in progress, you stop expecting perfection from yourself in the current moment or in the future. You can accept that things can change over time and embrace that that's a good thing. You stop needing every choice to be the right one forever. And you start treating your life like a fun sketchbook instead of a finished painting. And there's something incredibly freeing about that. In art, the first layer is never meant to be perfect. It's just a foundation to build upon. You block in shapes, test colors, you make marks knowing you'll adjust them later on. Imagine approaching life with that same open-mindedness, letting yourself try things without needing them to define you, letting yourself fail without seeing it as a final verdict, or letting yourself grow without rushing the process just to reach the finish line that always gets pushed ever so slightly out of reach. It's easy to forget that everyone's in a different chapter. Some people are refining, some people are starting over and silently rebuilding after what they thought was their goal fell apart. And none of that is visible at first glance. I've noticed that the artists and people in general I admire most aren't the ones who pretend they've arrived. It's the ones who always stay curious, the ones who keep experimenting, and the ones who always find new ways to reinvent themselves. I think we underestimate how much pressure comes from trying to arrive. Arrive at a style, arrive at a version of ourselves that finally feels acceptable. But arrival is a moving target. Every time you think you've reached it, you grow just a little bit more. And suddenly you're standing at the edge of something new again. Being a work in progress isn't a temporary state. It's a natural condition of all of us if we just pay attention. So try not to cling to who you were 5 years ago, or who you think you have to be in 5 years' time. Let yourself be open to change, growing and evolving with each passing day or experience. The people who seem the most grounded aren't the ones who have everything figured out. They're the ones who are comfortable not knowing and exploring that unknown. Comfortable learning and questioning. Comfortable always being in motion. Unfinished by design. It means there's always room for discovery, room for surprise, and a place for versions of yourself you haven't met yet. And maybe the goal isn't to rush towards some polished final form. Maybe it's to stay open long enough to become something more honest. Maybe that's the real lesson art keeps teaching us over and over again. That progress doesn't need an audience. That not every phase needs to be shared or explained. Some pages exist just to help the next page happen. Some seasons in life are the same way. Unclear, necessary, and deeply valuable, even if no one else ever sees them. And that might be the most important part of the process. I hope you enjoyed this sketching session, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.